So the three P's in your voice are pitch, which has to do with how high or low I say something, pacing, which has to do with how quickly or slowly you say something. And these can all be mixed up to create emotion. And then the third one is a little bit surprising for a lot of people. When we are physical with our hands, our face, our physicality will come through in our voice. If you just think about the three P's when you get started, it can be a very powerful way to remember, am I mixing up my pacing and my pitch and my physicality? Just like you have a unique signature, your voice has a unique sound. A lot of times what happens is you get behind the microphone and suddenly you start doing a voice. And now I'm talking like this. And it used to be that's what voiceover was. That is not voiceover anymore. So really what sells products, what sells services is the connection that we make with the audience. We really focus on, did that sound natural? Did that sound real?
Hey there, I'm Kaylin Wood, and this is Money Matters for Moms, the show where busy moms turn overwhelm into abundance. Each week we'll talk side hustles, saving hacks, wealth tips, and some energy tips to help make it all stick. Real tools for real financial freedom. No ramen required. Today I'm speaking with Justine Reiss. Justine is a seasoned voiceover artist, a coach, and podcaster, as well as a mediation facilitator. She narrates audiobooks and voices commercial campaigns and animated shows. Justine also coaches others to begin their own voiceover careers, and she specializes in helping clients discover their own authentic vocal tone. Welcome, Justine.
Thank you so very much. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Can you tell us a little bit about how you became involved in voiceover?
Yes, I came to it in a more, what we would call now a more traditional route through acting. I was an actor and I did even some stunt work. And I tell a funny story in my introductory classes about a friend of mine while I was working for a new theme park that had just opened up in Florida. They realized they had hired actors and stunt people for the first time. They had always hired singer dancers, the typical theme park type of show. But this was now a new territory. And so I was hired to do improv and create the illusion of Hollywood. But they were also opening a stunt show. And they realized they had a bunch of stunt people that couldn't act and a bunch of actors that couldn't do stunt work. And I had some training in both. And so I talk about in my introductory classes, opportution. And you might kind of insinuate what that means. But when we are prepared for an opportunity that arises, I call that an opportune. So there I was already at the theme park and this opportune showed up and I stepped into this show, the Indiana Jones show, which is still there, by the way. And I met a guy who said he was moving to California to do voiceover. And I was like, what's voiceover? And of course, this was over 20 years ago. And he said, I'm going to be the next Mel Blanc. And I said, who's Mel Blanc? Hopefully there's some people laughing out there because Mel Blanc was all the voices of Looney Tunes and known as the man of 1,000 voices. So when I moved to California, I started focusing my acting energy in voiceover because I loved this idea of using my voice and creating characters behind a microphone. It really allows a lot of freedom, which is a perfect lead-in to our mission here today to talk about how you can do this from home and why it is an industry that is almost ageless. And that's really nice for women, I think.
Absolutely. So I always did think that having a voiceover career would mean moving to LA. So
Right.
What's changed?
Yes. Well, used to be, you would need to be in a market where there were a lot of studios and certainly a lot of ad agencies, because that is what drove this industry. Because it was primarily commercials, cartoons, maybe something we used to call industrials, right? So brand type of videos that might be used internally. But now, and I'm sorry, everybody, but after you hear this interview, you're going to hear voices everywhere. Voices are literally used everywhere. Small business, museum tours, cruise ships, airports, and of course, still commercials. But commercials now are appearing on our social media. I could go on. And if you're really interested, I have a wonderful voiceover webinar that introduces the industry in much greater detail than I'll be able to do today, because I think it is such a dynamic, fun, flexible career that can be quite lucrative if approached the right way, that you can work from home. You can be with your kids. You can have a lot of freedom. And that wasn't what drew me to it originally, but is what has paid off in my life currently. And I kept working and teaching and doing all the things I do because I've created a life of freedom through this activating my voice in voiceover.
That's really fun. But it's
It
something
is.
you don't really hear about all that much. So how do you help clients to get started?
Such a great question and such an important question because I think for people out there that have been curious about this, and I know there's people watching this that are going, I'm glad to get some inside scoop because it's really mysterious voiceover. Like, where do these voices come from? I even remember as a kid when I kind of realized, and you might have had this experience too, when you're like, there's a person behind that cartoon voice that's actually doing this. So the way that we help people is by giving them the things they need that they don't know they need. And number one, just like when you do anything, if you're a surgeon, you can't just show up to the operating room and know where to put the scalpel. You need training in some careers more than others, but voiceover is no different. So learning how to really utilize your voice in a way that's going to book voiceover jobs is step one. So that's coaching and training. And the beautiful thing is I work with another company called Such a Voice. I'm a freelance voice artist, but I get to teach some of our coursework through there. And I really have a lot of conversations around what would I do next to get started? And coaching and training is always step one. You have to have a home studio these days. Not as complicated as it seems, but certainly not something I would just want to try and do on my own. So we give direction in those two areas. And then the third area is building your marketing tool, which in this case is a professionally produced demo. And now the fourth thing would be marketing, just like in any industry. How am I actually going to go get a job? So we don't want to leave that out. And then the fifth thing, and this is my favorite thing to talk about, is community. And it's kind of a weird thing to say that there's a community involved in a job that you literally do from your closet potentially, but there is. And finding that in online rooms at places like we have at Such a Voice, I'm really proud to be part of a group that I think we do a very comprehensive job of filling the gap on all of these things to close the gap. Let's say you have foundational skill. Let's say you're one of those people that have been told you have a great voice, but you have no idea how to get all the way over to voiceover island. So we want to help you get there by giving you the right tools. And it's not for everybody. I will say that. I may tell you if you want to do an evaluation with me and listen to you that maybe this isn't the best move for you. And it's not just about the sound of your voice, but it could be a lot of things. You know, how well can you read out loud? Do you have a speech impediment? Do you have a strong dialect that might really restrict your ability to work so much that I don't want to say, hey, make this investment? It's an investment, just like everything, but it can really have incredible payoffs, both financially and creatively. The idea of doing something creative that you can actually make money with, but also really fill out this desire to, maybe you had a desire to perform, but you're too shy or you have stage fright. Well, this is an industry, even though you and I are face to face right now, you really get to hide behind your mic, basically. And that ability to bring your voice out in different ways. And I'm not just talking about character work and I'm going to do my voice up here or down here. And even though I do a lot of that stuff, the idea of really finding your real true voice and how we bring emotional tone into commercials, that's different than character work, but it all starts with truth and authenticity.
Well, I love that you specialize in helping clients to discover their own unique vocal tone. So what do you do with that?
Another great question. I like to call it, and this is a highly utilized term in our industry of voiceover, your signature sound. Just like you have a unique signature, your voice has a unique sound. Now, how are we going to really delve into that sound? So a lot of it is really coming in touch with that sound, because a lot of times what happens is, and I don't know if you can see my microphone, I think you can. So you get behind the microphone and suddenly you start doing a voice, and now I'm talking like this. And it used to be that's what voiceover was. You had, announcers like, come on down to the car dealership. We're going to show you a great deal. And that is not voiceover anymore. So really what sells products, what sells services is the connection that we make with the audience. So that is a skill set. And how we start to delve into learning it is when you work with a coach, we really focus on, did that sound natural? Did that sound real? And there's tricks which I can tap into a little bit, like learning about how would I bring excitement into my voice. For instance, if I said, Kaylin, say I want to go to the store, but give it to me excited, what would you do?
I want to go to the store.
Great. Now, I noticed some things that you just did, and maybe some of the people watching also did. She smiled, her pitch went up just slightly, and she spoke a little bit faster than she might have. I want to go to the store. She even sat up a little bit. So posture can have a lot to do with what happens in our voice. So that was just a great example. Smile is a huge thing in voiceover, but we don't want to run around all the time like with this fake smile. So there's ways that we figure out when to use a smile, like on a product name, Honda. It has everyone smiling. That line happens to have the word smile in it, but you start to learn how the words can kind of indicate what I'm going to do on my face, and that's going to show up in my voice. And this all just takes practice. So as we are developing a voiceover demo with somebody, we're looking at what are some of the ways that you have naturally, like maybe you sound very professional, and that is your natural way of speaking. So we're going to write a certain kind of script for you for, say, a Dell computer to sell to business people. And the idea of writing scripts for your demo as opposed to pulling scripts that are already written is we get to utilize your authentic likes and dislikes in addition to just giving you words to say. So in other words, I did this with my masterclass the other day. This was actually a really fun exercise. Do you like the car you drive?
I do.
Okay.
I don't love it, but I do like it.
Okay, so maybe give me very one sentence, 3 things you like about the car.
I like the fact that it's a RAV4. It's small, it's sporty, and it has enough seatbelts for our family.
Okay, great testimonial for the RAV4. Toyota is calling on the phone. I got to go talk to them. Now, the reason I have you do something like that is you just off the cuff are sharing an experience with me. And that is the key to being a good voice talent versus sounding like you're selling. Because when we start to sound like we're selling, we're not really in touch with the message. But Kaylin just describing the things she happens to already like about her car, that's what we put on the demo. As opposed to saying, hey, we want you to do an ad for, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the opposite of a RAV4, like a coupe, a Mini Cooper, and it's a convertible, which maybe doesn't really resonate with you. Why put that on your demo? Now, I want you to be able to go book a job for the Mini Cooper. So we want to teach you how to bring your authentic voice to almost any script. But the demo itself, and this is one of the things that I think stands out at Such a Voice, the way we make demos with this curated idea in mind of writing the scripts for the student. So you come out of this, and I've seen this work. There's a predictable result when we have a strategy around creating voiceover as opposed to just winging it. And that's why I love working with another company. I don't do all that, but I'm good on the coaching end. And I love the group coaching because group coaching allows us to learn from each other as opposed to just the one-on-one, which is also key. So we do both. So the one-on-one is where I would really start to discover what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths. But maybe you're great at comedy and not as good at compassionate reads. So we're going to pull the threads on all that. Then we get into the group in a masterclass that I get to teach. And we get to watch and learn from each other. Well, we're all online. And that's the other thing. It is so fun. It is so fun. And there's no get rich quick schemes here. And there's no get rich quick schemes in anything else probably anybody is talking about on the summit. I think it's how we approach things with a mindset of let's bring some play and let's bring some fun into it. Because if I can't approach even my generosity and my service with play, then I might miss out on the joy that's potentially coming from it. And I think especially when we are going through tough times, like I think we all are still suffering from our pandemic. I try and think about all the good things that came out of it, like our ability to just get on a Zoom and connect with someone who's I don't even know where you are right now. Where are you, Caitlin?
I'm outside Denver.
Great. It's probably really chilly and snowy and cozy there. And I happen to be in Los Angeles, but a week ago, we were just commenting on the idea of it still being the new year and it feeling like a new year, even though I feel like I'm already kind of into the year, it's still really feeling like it's just getting started.
For sure. And I love the idea of having fun. I mean, I'm all about having fun in your job and melding the two. But there's also something about women speaking with more power these days. So how can you connect those two?
It's really become my mission And maybe because of some of my own personal journey, and this is where my personal journey, both in voiceover and in life, has really made this a very important thing for me. I made some huge changes during the pandemic. And one of the reasons was because I finally slowed down enough to be still. Because I was a very busy person, that I came from a very type A family with parents that were, high achievers and go-getters, but also artistic. And right before the pandemic, I got to start teaching classes in voiceover and helping other people find their voices and doing master classes live and in person. And I got to travel some with my voice in addition to doing voiceover. So I get to take my equipment with me. But when the pandemic hit, I had to stop all the travel. So I did get to pivot and start working more from home, but I also had to sit still and look at my life. And I realized it was not great. It was not fulfilling me. And I made some really difficult choices. So it was more getting to know my inside voice at that point, which helped me really connect to my outer messages and my outer voice. And I made all kinds of change. I bought my own house with my own money, which I'm in now. And that all happened during COVID. And I don't know that I would have given myself the permission to really look hard, because I have FOMO, and you're out doing something fun, I want to go out too. So the pandemic really killed my FOMO and allowed me some quiet. And I didn't come up with this. I have to give credit. I heard this in actually a 12-step meeting, an acronym for PAUSE that I'd be happy to share. So get your pencils out, because this is a good one. PAUSE. Postpone action until serenity emerges. So we postpone the action. We don't just move into action. I'm uncomfortable. Let me go make a move. Wait, I got to think about it until I know what to do and serenity emerges. I try in my hardest moments to go back to that acronym. And I became a meditation facilitator through something called the Dream Bigger Academy by a guy by the name of Justin Michael Williams, where he was really talking to me about my inner child. Where is the shadow lurking? Because when we can't really go into the shadow, which this gets into finding your voice, we can't find the light. And so a lot of times there's been something that's happened in your past where you were silenced. And women in particular, I think, because we have roles that we both want to play, are expected to play, and just start doing. And so this is especially exciting for me to be able to help both young moms and moms that may be becoming empty nesters. And now I've done it all. So I'm like, wow, move, pandemic, empty nesting, kind of expanding a new career all at the same time. And I think when we can connect to our voice, whether you want to do voiceover or not, we are powerful women, more powerful women, when we can really learn to use this instrument. So I really love to help women and speak about this, both in corporate work, whether you're working your way up, an emerging leader, sales teams, how we use our tone when we sell. And we all need to learn these skills. And so that's where the vocal empowerment piece comes in, that I'm very excited about. And I use meditation a lot in sitting still to kind of figure out what is that next move I want. And the dream bigger concept is to stand in the future, see myself in this vision of whatever it is. For me, doing bigger speaking engagements, maybe more audiobooks, national commercials, whatever it is. And then what do I need to do today? Small actions to get to that place, as opposed to, I want that thing and it's so far away, I can't imagine getting there. I'm just not going to try. And so standing in those to manifest these things, your voice is your most powerful tool. And I have some good tools on that. And meditation has a lot to do with it. So we get into all kinds of things when we start talking about the voice that seemingly have nothing to do with the voice. But to me, it's all tied together.
And you actually have some tips that you can give people now about how to develop their own powerful voice.
Yes, definitely. One of the things I talk about a lot and seems to resonate with people, so I'll mention it here, something called the 3 Ps. So the 3 Ps in your voice are pitch, which has to do with how high or low I say something, pacing, which has to do with how quickly or slowly you say something. And these can all be mixed up to create emotion. And then the third one is a little bit surprising for a lot of people, because we think of voiceover, again, I've got this microphone and I've got this voice, and I'm just going to talk into the mic. You've seen people doing radio and I'm just talking into the mic. But when we are physical with our hands, our face, obviously you can't do tap dances because you make too much noise, but using our physicality will come through in our voice. So that's always a big surprise. There's other P's out there they're super important, like passion, and pause is a big one in voiceover. But I think if you just think about the 3 P's when you get started, it can be a very powerful way to remember, just by mixing up my pacing and my pitch and my physicality. Now, all of that comes after I connect with my message, which is why this is a multi-layered onion, Kaylin, that we have to sort of start ripping the pieces apart.
Exactly.
And I'm curious, where are you hearing voices? Where are you ingesting voices? Podcasts, for instance, right? We are so into our podcasts. And I get to host this podcast called The Voiceover Pod, where we talk about all things related to voiceover, but also speaking, finding the voice. I have talked to some celebrity voice actors, people that cast voice acting, and then also audiobooks are a huge place. You know, how many out there are listening to audiobooks? And
sure.
Another fun way to ingest audio and learn about voiceover, just go on Amazon. Even if you're not a member of Audible, just listen to samples of different voices. And why do you like certain things? What do you not like? That's a good way of learning just by listening too.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're talking about family reminded me that using your pacing and your pitch and your physicality is really important when you're talking to kids too.
So true. If you say something so fast, the child's not going to understand. It doesn't mean we have to talk down to kids, but we have to take in their energy also. And have you noticed that if a child's getting upset, our natural reaction sometimes is to also get upset. And then we're in a spiral. And if we can just get quiet instead and just get quiet, the child can also get quiet and honor the feeling and try and listen more. And that's true in all relationships. I found that some of the things that I learned when my kids were in preschool are coming back real strong in my adult relationships. And I know that you all know what I'm talking about, right? My kids went to a really progressive preschool, and there were some certain phrases that we had, like, use your words, and I'm making a plan. That was a good one. Like if a child said, I want to go over to so-and-so's house, let's make a plan. And it gave them an empowerment to maybe go make a plan with that child. And I have found those skills to be super helpful in communication all the way around. So I would say if this is something that is interesting to you to look into, well, certainly you can reach out to me, listen to the podcast. You can find me on LinkedIn and Linktree and JustineReissVoices.com. But think about all the different ways you can use your voice. And then certainly if you are interested in making money with your voice in voiceover, I'm happy to have that conversation.
Fantastic. Now you have a free gift. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. I have a free gift that is 7 tips to using your voice with more power. And I gave you 3 of them. And it will just outline some things to tap into. And some of it has to do with things that are not necessarily your voice, but like your inner critic, which is in here. And people get so critical about, oh, that wasn't good. Well, how do you know it's good or not good, right? You've never done it before. There's this idea that I should be great at this just because I'm picking up a script. It's a skill set. And I can help you figure out if it's a good fit. So I would say the biggest thing to think about is, have you had a desire to use your voice in some way that you maybe shut down or backburnered because you did become a mom, so you didn't have time? I know for me, I was a theater actress. I have not done a full-length play since I had my second child. To me, voiceover is like the wardrobe in Narnia, where you can just create characters, give your voice to messages. There's nothing that gets me out of a bad mood more than coming into the studio and doing some auditions or doing some jobs or reading a book, because I get out of my crazy head and I get into my voice, my powerhouse. It's your powerhouse. And if you find that you're curious about voiceover, you will find communication getting better and your ability to deliver messages, get on stage and speak. So that's what those 7 tips will lead you towards.
Sounds great. Now, speaking of getting real, you were going to show us your studio.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn off my background. There was a time when we used to have to invest quite a bit of money to create what we would call a studio. And the only person that had one is the 7-figure voiceover talent who was doing, movie trailers and things like that, because they would have to build something in the garage and it had to be soundproof and all this crazy equipment. And now we can be in a small space, even a corner of a room. And I'll see if I can even step out of this for a second. So this is my studio. Here's my microphone. We use something called an interface, which is this little box that is basically a soundboard, just a couple of knobs on it. Pretty easy to figure out. And we at Such a Voice are going to help you with all this. Sometimes we even give free studios away. So it's worth checking out to talk to me about that. Then you need some headphones. You need a mic stand. And this is on the mic stand. Okay. And then you can soundproof. By the way, I even use baby blankets to help me soundproof here. So I'm actually going to step us out of this room, right? There's an illusion going on, and I'm going to show you guys. Okay, I hope I can do this without tripping. Now, my space is a little bit small, but I'm a small person, so I can stand in it. So I'm going to turn this around so you can see what this is. Literally a wardrobe. Isn't that crazy? And you don't even have to. So frequently, I would say most people, 9 times out of 10, start in some kind of a closet, because think about it. What's already in your closet is what? Clothing. So our clothing is great sound dampening, actually. So it's already in there. And that is key. So even if you have a small closet, that's a great place to start. But I will tell you this, don't ever be the person, if you want to do voiceover, to say, I don't have anywhere to put a studio, because you don't need a big space. It literally can be a corner of a room. And that's one of the things that at Such a Voice, I'm very proud to say, we don't just help you make demos and teach you how to use your voice. We will help you figure out where to put the studio. And you work with a home studio advisor to listen to your recordings. Because that's something I didn't have to worry about when I got into voiceover. I got to go into the studio and get recorded, and that was their job. Now it is partially my job. Any voiceover talent, we have to be, our voice is one thing, but if our sound quality is not good. So there's skills to learn, but they're not difficult, and it's actually kind of fun. And you're talking to somebody who didn't want to do it. And I've recorded 2 books now, 3 books totally on my own. So, and you can get help with that too. I do use an outside editor. Some narrators produce all their own work. There's just so many avenues to use your voice and make money. And I would be happy to share those with you. It's a really wonderful work from home option for moms. Really, really good.
Fantastic. So I have one more question for you. If
Great.
you could only tell women one thing, what would it be?
If you have the desire to do something, stand in the future and see yourself doing it, and take one action. Think of one action that you can take today to get there. And it might be something so tiny as making a note to look on LinkedIn to connect with somebody. But the little actions that we take are what add up to the big dream moves. If it's about your voice, it always, for me, gets back to the voice. That's a way of using your voice. And if it's voiceover, let's say, what's one action to take today? Maybe I'm just going to listen to a podcast. Maybe I'm going to reach out to Justine. I love to talk about all things voice. So I'm happy to talk to you. And you can find me on lots of different places and platforms. And this is a great mission to help moms make more money with powerful ways. So
thank you very much. I really appreciate your being part of it.
So honored to have been asked.
Thanks for tuning in to Money Matters for Moms. I hope today's episode left you inspired to take one little step forward. Check out the resources in the show notes and share this with another mom who's ready to thrive. You've got this, because abundance is easier than you might think.